Well, good evening, everyone, or maybe afternoon or morning, depending where you're joining us from. Welcome here to episode 002 of the Launch Pod. It is great to have all of you back with us. As always, I am joined by the one, the only, Ian. He is here. How you doing, Ian? Good. Excited for another week of crazy space stuff that's happened, new developments even today. But great to see so many people, as always, here on the Launch Pod. Let us know where you guys are tuning in from. We'd love to welcome some of you here. If it's your first time watching, let us know that. It's great to have you here. The Launch Pod's our weekly live show where we talk about everything that's happened in the last week as your weekly recap. Look forward to the launches coming up this week and then take a chunk of time to answer your guys' comments and questions. So if you guys have questions about anything we talk about while we're talking about it, send those in the chat. We'll try to keep our eye on it, but at the end of the show, the second half, we're going to go back through the chat and make sure we get to those comments and questions. If you want your question answered first and right away and right now, send it in as a super chat and that will jump you to the top of the line. But we're glad to have you all here. Ian might be muted. Let's try that again. Ian, how's it going?
Hello times two. Am I here? Can you guys hear me?
Now, why am I getting an echo? Interesting. Let's do...
Well, you can tell us it's a live show.
Yeah, you can tell. Yeah, let's try that. How about now? Now talk.
All right. Hey.
I think that fixed it. Can you guys hear me and Ian but no echo? Let me know. Let us know if we have a 5x5. It'll take a couple weeks. We'll get things ironed out.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you're 2,000 miles away from each other.
Oh, have we actually measured it out?
Somewhere around there, roughly, I think. I don't know.
Makes sense.
Sounded like a nice number.
That's good. One day I'll visit Canada.
You just come in the summer when it's like reasonably temperatured.
What is reasonably temperatured for Canada in the summer? And I'll preface
like
it
85,
with,
90
Celsius.
for our American friends.
That's not bad. I will consider visiting if it's 85.
No, there should be a super chat button. Take a refresh. It should be back. Let me double check if it's not. I think we'll just jump into it. That was going to be our one of our topics we were coming up, but maybe we'll just jump right into it. The title of the episode, Let Us Explain. So as many of you know, or might have seen over the last week, if you are a member with the green name, first, thank you so much for supporting us in that way. Your green names disappeared, and you probably got a really fun email from YouTube saying your membership is paused. Would you like a refund? YouTube decided out of the blue to demonetize the launch pad, subsequently the launch pod, and everything else we do completely on YouTube. So shut down memberships, ad revenue, donations, super chat, stickers, the whole 9 yards, with no notice and no warning. It was a really fun thing to be getting ready to wrap up a night and get an email at midnight saying, you are now demonetized. Congratulations. So we've taken the last 5-6 weeks to work with YouTube, first through Twitter with Team YouTube, to have a human review. They actually, with that human review, said that we were demonetized correctly. But we were lucky enough that through the YouTube Partner Program, there's 2 ways you can be brought into the Partner Program. One is you can send in a video appeal, which is the route we ended up doing, without deleting anything. So you leave your channel the way it is. You can upload more, but you can't delete anything. And you can go that route, and it takes up to 2 weeks. Or you can wait 30 days, delete some videos, reapply, and hope you deleted the right ones because they don't tell you which ones they don't like. We did the video appeal route, and we have it. It's 4 minutes, 59 seconds, and we want to know from you guys, do you guys want to see the whole thing, or do you want to see a minute and then get the link and watch it later? So let us know. We've got it spooled up, but let us know in the chat which way you want to do it. We went through that. Very lucky enough. Obviously, there weren't many videos waiting, I guess. We sent it in 12 hours, less than 12 hours after we sent in our video appeal. Everything was back on, which is why you see the green names with the little helmets next to it and everything. For those that are subscribers, if you hit subscribe, nothing would have changed for you. So we didn't lose anybody in that sense. If you are a member, though, that means you've hit the join button. You're paying monthly to help support our mission and just help us continue doing what we're doing and expanding more. So let's see. Jeff says 1 minute. Aiden just says yes. So I think we'll just do a little teaser of the video, and then what we'll do is we'll put the link in our Discord again. So if you guys haven't joined the Discord yet, you can do that after this episode. When we're wrapping this up, we'll drop it in the chat as well. But join the Discord and you can get the link there and see that. But we're going to take a second and watch just a little bit of the appeal video. So here we go. Hey YouTube, my name is Zach and Ian. I'm the founder and creator of the Launchpad, and our mission is to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow because we believe that space is better together. I appreciate you giving me the chance to send in this video to you today. I created the Launchpad on December 17th, 2020, and fully posted my first video on January 4th, 2021, which was a 6-minute long video update about everything that had happened in space that week and what we could look forward to in the week ahead. Just 4 weeks after starting the Launchpad, SpaceX and the Launchpad TLP partnered together to organize the first exclusive interview on YouTube with Jared Isaacman, the commander and benefactor of Inspiration 4, the first all-civilian mission to space. Over the next year, we would closely be in contact with them and follow the mission until in September when we were live on location at NASA Kennedy Space Center as a guest of the commander for the launch, one of the U.S.'s most historical crew launches in history, ushering in a new era of civilian spaceflight. Following the interview, I would continue giving weekly news updates and space news updates, breaking many industry stories first. I would also provide live launch coverage of rocket launches from NASA, SpaceX, and others. And if you want to see more, you're going to have to head over to Discord and get that link, or wait till the end of the show and we'll drop it in at the end of the show. Maybe we'll end the show with the whole video. We'll see. But that's just a little taste of what we ended up having to send into YouTube, kind of explaining what we do, how we do follow all their policies and procedures. And luckily enough, they agree that we do follow everything correctly and that we can continue on, which is why we're working on some really big projects that we're excited about, some new goals for the year and for really the decade even that we're working on that we're only able to do because of your guys' support. So we're going to have some announcements coming up, hopefully over the next couple of weeks and months. Of some big stuff in development. But if you want to help support us and make those happen even faster, you can do so by becoming a member, hitting that join button, or heading over to patreon.com/thelaunchpad and join there. They start at $1.99. You get behind the scenes access, early access, merch discounts, whole bunch of stuff, and we appreciate it. But we're always going to be putting out our live launch coverages in these shows for free so that everybody can watch. So if you can't afford it, don't worry. We're not going anywhere. But yeah, super excited that we are finally back monetized. I know it was a whirlwind for both of us, Ian, trying to figure out what was going on. But yeah, what's your thoughts on everything that's happened in the last week with all the YouTube fun?
I mean, YouTube can't kill us. They can try, but we'll come right back, and that means that we're definitely not going to be deterred in what we do going forward. Do expect all those live launch coverages. Do expect the launch pod to keep going. Do expect everything that we do here. At the end of the day, we will always prevail. We do things by the book, and I'm glad that YouTube made it not too difficult to get back in the end. So let's keep going.
And with that, we'll jump right into this week's weekly review. The first thing coming up was we had a pretty close asteroid flyby this week.
So how close is close, Zach? Can you give us a little taste of that?
It was the closest in 200 years, I believe they said, for it.
I think I remember hearing in the next 200 years, but that probably sounds a bit more accurate. The number I recall, I think, was 1.2 million miles, roughly-ish. So luckily, James Webb isn't at the million-mile mark yet.
Yeah, James Webb's a bit further out there. It was asteroid 7482, discovered in 1994. It's the closest approach it's done to our planet at 1 million miles, or 1.6 million kilometers. And it's close. You're correct. It was closer than it will for the next 200 years. So if that flew by on January 18th, so we're all still here. We made it. That's still a long ways away. I think James Webb, people have grasped a little bit more on just how far out things are. So this was a number of replications of the distance from Earth to the moon. But definitely something to have to keep watching. There are a lot of near asteroids that they are tracking and making sure that we can hopefully keep us safe.
Yeah, well, 200 years for everything that we know. We had kind of hinted in our episode 000 that there's always a possibility that there are other things out there that we're unaware of that can come very close or can hit Earth. And of course, we're preparing for that in the case that anything happens. But here's hoping it will be the closest thing in the next 200 years. So we'll keep an eye on it. And I don't think we have it spooled up, and I can blame myself for that. But there are actually some astronomers and some amateur astronomers that were able to visually see the asteroid as it was going by, just a little white dot. So that was pretty cool. Did you happen to catch any of those GIFs or videos, Zach?
I saw a few of them. I didn't grab any actually for the stream. We grabbed the one animation. It wasn't a big asteroid either. Like it was an asteroid that it would
No,
make a dent, but I don't think it was a life-ending everything asteroid from what I understood. But like maybe a
I
continent
think
or
it
two.
was. Yeah, I don't even think that. It was a kilometer wide, I think. Definitely that would do some damage, but if it hit us, we'd survive. We'd do good. It'd be a bad day for whoever it hit in the surrounding area. But
Yeah, and if you're
uh,
really good at those math calculations, contact us. We'd love to have your number so we can make you a call when something's happening so we're on the right side of the planet. We'll provide live launch or live impact coverage from the safe side of
I'm
the
down for
planet.
that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, this
All
week
right,
we
that sounds
saw
good.
another Falcon 9 launch. 49 more Starlink satellites lifted off from Slick 40, SpaceX's third launch of this year. Two more, I think it is, lined up this month. So they are chugging away at setting a new record for how many launches within a year. Was the also 29th consecutive landing that they've done, which is a new record. But another beautiful, clear night for that launch. But the second time we've seen them launch to the south, which is a bit different to normally see. Were you able to catch that one?
Yes, and it was made me very reminiscent of the Inspiration 4 mission. Whenever they were separating first stage from separate stage, they did kind of have that visible plume that we got to see in person. So that was very, very cool.
Yeah, it's great to see them. You know, they had said they had such a busy year lined up for the second half of last year, and then they had no liquid oxygen, and we didn't see anything for months. So it's nice seeing that there are, this backlog of Starlink missions and other missions lined up. We'll get into the upcoming launches in the next 2 weeks at the end of the show here before we take your guys' questions. But let us know, were you guys able to see the launch? What did you guys think of it? It was actually an interesting part was they had two launch windows. So this was one of the first times I think we've really seen them use it, where the rocket was out at the pad, they were ready to go for the first launch window, and T minus 45 minutes when the go no go to fuel should have occurred, we heard nothing. They were radio silent, and we didn't hear anything till pretty much the T0 time that said they were recycling and targeting the second launch window, but it was only 2 hours later. So that's something we heard last year that they're starting to do with some of the missions because they know how Falcon 9 can operate, and it's a fast fuel recycle time that even if they had gone for a launch attempt and had to scrub, they could recycle in time for that second window. So just giving more of an opportunity. They already would have cleared the airspace and the water that they can still have a greater opportunity of launch, especially in Florida. You get all those micro little rainstorms and everything.
Yeah, it's very similar here in Louisiana. It could be totally fine 1 minute and then downpour, and then the next hour it's good. Their launch cadence last year, you had touched on that a little bit. If I remember correctly, I think it was about once every 2 weeks that it ended up being. Do you have any projections of what you think it'll be like this year if they're already having such a strong January?
I think it really depends how the world goes with everything with the current
Fair enough.
situations on if we have oxygen or not. Hopefully everything goes well. I definitely think they said they've got a record breaking year on the calendar. I'm trying to remember how many they actually had last year, but I'd say at this rate, if we're going, 5 a month, 4 to 5 a month, even if you say 4 times 12, that's 48 launches in a year. That's pretty good. Plus, we have to remember we have the chance of up to 6 Falcon Heavies this year, which is 3 boosters together. So I feel for their refurbishment team that last year they had a few to do. This year, the first one had engine damage. and broke the boat a little bit, and now they're looking at all these Falcon Heavies that they got to have ready to go. So that crew is going to be extremely busy for this next year. As I realize you can't see the bottom of that image, which is like the nicer part of the image. There we go.
The refurbishment team is also stepping up their game a little bit more in general, because I noticed during that Starlink mission, they said that they were reusing the fairings. And that's something I started to see a little bit more as they get better at catching those fairings. So they're just getting more and more reusable. Do you think they're ever going to be fully reusable? Well, of course, I guess Starship would get us there. But with the Falcon 9, do you think there's anything more that they can do beyond trying to just catch the fairings?
Well, the second stage is the only part really right now that they scrap. They said they wanted to look at doing reusable second stages, but I think they're at the point where that little bit of it, that 10% of the rocket, is so minuscule for them to have to remake for every launch that focusing on the first stage and the fairings recovery, where you're saving 90% of your costs on reusability, I think they're happy with. I think they're focused on Starship too. They've had a year really of delays on and off with all their funding and everything, that they need to be pushing ahead on that, and are probably trying to have all of their researchers and engineers focus on that more than changing the Falcon 9 Block 5, which we know works pretty much perfectly. But maybe one day. But I mean, it's like Falcon Heavy. We saw them want to recover all 3 cores, and now we know pretty much all of them will scrap the center core, just because it's not worth having to have a whole nother drone ship or landing pad for it. So I think they weigh the cost reward quite a bit, and Starship's where their eye is, not Falcon anymore.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I envision a future, maybe one day when everything goes very nicely, where the second stage can have maybe insert itself into a parking orbit, and then we can send a Starship up to kind of just capture, because definitely wouldn't have enough fuel to land itself, and it wouldn't be large enough. But I'm sure that would probably pose its own risk for having lots of space debris up there. And that's something we're already kind of dealing with. There was an update with the ISS that we learned a little bit about. If you remember the ASAT test that was done, how many months ago was it, Zach? Can you give me a reminder of roughly when that was?
No, more than that. The ASAT test was in November. The Nyoka almost tearing the station apart was in July.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so it's been a little bit. We haven't talked about it very much. There hasn't been very many updates. Now we do have a small one after they've had time to really catalog everything and then track what's going out there. We're looking at about a 2 times greater risk of the ISS being hit. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody should run to the nearest Dragon capsule and bring themselves back to Earth, but that's definitely they're going to have to do some more maneuvers to get around that. What do you think about that, Zach? Is that something that would make you very comfortable if you were on the ISS?
I think I'd feel comfortable because I trust the ground crews that support the station, but it definitely, I think, would be in your back of the mind. I think more so for when you're in the Dragon going and coming than necessarily when you're on station. Because station, we know its orbit. It's stable, unless the Nyoka module fires its thrusters. But with Dragon, the Dragon fires its, and we've seen this last couple of missions, that they arrived early. And not by 5-10 minutes, an hour or 2, they arrived early to the station, because Dragon was just that smart. It's like, oh, well, I can do my burn now and get you there too. Type of thing. And things just went so smoothly, they didn't need to take extra time. So I think Dragon, we see more variables and changing timelines, that I'd be a little more worried with that. Mind you, you're more maneuverable. So it's like, if we know where all the debris is, you'd be fine. The issue is when they did that ASAT test, I think it made 2,000 or so, they say now, trackable pieces, but an estimated 100,000 not trackable pieces. So it's those 100,000 that are, the size of your pinky nail, that are going to actually cause the biggest damage. And hopefully we don't end up seeing a gravity movie event, but it is something that has to be considered. And we know that there are currently contracts out for trying to do space debris cleanup, at least of some of the bigger space junk. I know for the ASAT test, they also said debris was going to last till at least 2040. So this isn't a year or two. This is a long times thing. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely something to keep our eye on, and we'll definitely keep ongoing coverage as we learn more. A lot of the debris, well, I wouldn't say a lot, a chunk of it has already deorbited and entered our atmosphere. A lot of it's also much, much higher than the International Space Station. So to the people that are maybe trying to get a better scale of what is going on, there's definitely some stuff that poses threat. But when we say gravity-like situation, it's also not like there's this giant field of debris that just comes out of nowhere and then shoots over at everything. It's pretty spaced out. It still does pose a giant risk. As Zach said, even something the size of your pinky nail or even a chip of paint when it's going that fast can really do damage, considering that the Dragon capsule and the International Space Station actually aren't that thick. Do you know roughly how thick they are? I don't even think it's an inch when you really measure it out.
Yeah, it's definitely less than that. I know growing up, they used to say the station, it was a few layers of tinfoil at some of its thinnest points, really. So it's a pretty thin structure. Some of the newer stuff obviously is thicker, but yeah, once you go that speed, I didn't spool them up. I should have done it when we were at Space Center Houston. If you guys ever go, they actually have a display of chunks of the materials of the ISS and different things that were the simulated versions of what actually happened, or they were actually pieces from the station of impact points. And they show like this big of a thing hit it at this orbital speed, and this is the blowout effect. And they show you it blowing through the whole walls and everything. Actually, if you talk about the next one, I might try to spool up a picture. We'll pull it.
Yeah, go ahead.
You talk about the next one, and I'll try to spool up a picture.
All right, all right. So we're keeping our eyes on the International Space Station because we're going to be talking about C1, and that's SEE. So yeah, I did make a bad pun. Axios, they're a private space company that is going to very soon try and launch something to the International Space Station, clamp onto it, and then create its own private space station as it grows, and then eventually come off completely and be a completely private space station. So they're contracting with a lot of people to add different modules and see kind of what makes sense in the market. And as some of you may be aware, Tom Cruise is going to space to film a movie. He's not the first anymore. Russia did it with their own cosmonaut, or not cosmonaut, but they did it with their own people. This was a few months back, I think, and they'd stayed about a week. It was a short length film, and then they went back. Tom Cruise is going to do more feature length, blockbuster style, and his company had come into partnership with Axiom, and they're going to create a module called C1 specifically for content like this. And we do have a picture on screen. It's actually that little ball that's attached to it more to the right side. It's going to be used not only for film content, but also for sports. That's about all we know from it right now. Its current launch date is set for December 2024. I'm unsure what they've built of it so far and how the progress is going. This was just announced today. But what would you guys like to see done in space? What kind of sports do you think they would do in space? Would that be something competitive, or would there be people paying to just have a really nice game of tennis? What do you think, Zach?
I think, let me make sure we're unmuted this time while I pull up that photo as well. I think I'm just excited that finally this Tom Cruise story that we've been talking about for years is actually one step closer to happening. I'm not surprised that he's waiting for them to have a production studio in space. He wants to do his own stunts and everything. He's going to space. He's going to want to make this look good rather than him just floating through some tubes that they could have done on Earth. They're going to want to do some stuff that are probably pretty crazy. And they want to have that space. Like looking at that photo, just the sheer size of it here, it is a very large sphere when you think of it in comparison to where they're docking. This is a chunk of the new Axiom station that will launch obviously prior to it, but that's going to dock to, this is where we dock the Dragon right now. You can dock one up on the top, and they can dock one here. So that's going to change obviously also just how we're docking Dragons to the station. But when you think about how they can fit, I think we've seen now 11 people within this same size circle of the Axiom station. This sphere with 1 or 2 people, they're going to have a lot of room to be able to do props, or probably all green screen. I can't remember the name of the show on Disney Plus, but they go through like some behind the scenes of like The Mandalorian, and showing how they're using like a half sphere and putting like their actor out on this like little pedestal in the middle. So the camera, when the camera moves, the backgrounds also shift to give that like proper perspective change, but the actor doesn't have to like change differently. And it's all new tech changing how they film TV and movies. So the fact that we're going to start living in an era where we have a studio in space, I think is pretty amazing, and hopefully leads to maybe having some maybe more realistic space movies. The last few have been a little rough. Not to jump back, but I got that photo pulled up of here of some of the debris. So this is a piece, a sample of the JWST panel. This is aluminum on the ISS. The size of the thing that actually hit it is this little white circle. So that's the size. It was an aluminum pellet, 1.25 centimeters or half an inch in size, traveling at 15,200 miles per hour. And this is what it did to the panel. So it hit here and did that to it. Quite substantial when you think of that tiny little module. In that case, this was one of the bigger ones that I saw. There's the little one here, but this was a 1-inch piece of plastic cylinder. So that's it, plastic cylinder, 2.5 centimeters, same speed for it, and that's what it did to the plastic and aluminum could do to the aluminum. So this is why we need to know what space debris is, and unfortunately, some of this stuff we can't track just because of its size. But if you guys want to see these, if you're ever in the Houston area, you can jump over Houston Space Center. They've got these on display, so you can actually really see them in scale of size, but makes it a little scarier thinking about going to space when you're like, oh, this tiny little thing could literally just blow a hole the size of my head in the side of the wall.
You never know. Jumping back to what we were talking about, and thank you for pulling that up. I actually haven't seen that before, and that was pretty cool, pretty scary. Zach, if you had the chance to build any module and attach it to the Axiom space station, what would you want to build?
It's a good question. I am really excited, and I'm going to spool it up. I'm actually really excited for one of the modules Axiom's doing, which is on this secondary image, which is the new version of the cupola. I love the Inspiration 4 cupola, just the size of it. The real cupola that's on the station right now is really neat, but this is going to be a whole room that you can really descend into, not just like a rounded wall. That's going to really expose you on pretty much everything but the top of you to seeing that full nature of Earth. We don't know the orientation of what Axiom Station will be, but I will assume that they will orientate the station that window, if you were in it, you can see the entire Earth below you and then see out into space pretty much in a 360 as well. To me, that would probably be one of the biggest things, but I feel like it would also distract me from work all the time. I just want to go look out the window. I love that Axiom Space is putting more windows. Like the Russian module, their rooms have windows. The US ones don't. To me, like, that's almost really a letdown, because it's like, on your off hours, not that you can relax, you're floating, but you could relax in your cabin and just look out and kind of eliminate yourself from everyone else just for a little bit of time, because you don't have a lot of your own space. So I would say the new cupolas or window observation decks or whatever we're going to call them. And then for actual like operations part of it, I hope we see not massive spaces for personal time, but like just a little bit more than a broom closet, that you could actually have a little bit of your own stuff from home or your own cameras. to have that, because if we're talking about, private space travel, they're not going to have 12, 14 hours of work to do a day. They're going to have more free time. So we're going to need more communal areas, but we're also going to need more areas that people can go and kind of be on their own if they want to be. So what about you? What module would you want?
Well, I think Kevin Hoover in the chat actually has the only correct answer. Obviously, the Launchpad Studio. That's what we should build. Imagine doing this
I'm buying the
podcast, but
sphere.
from space.
Plot twist, it's mine. No.
Yeah, guys, look, we did hint earlier that we had some big plans for the channel. Zach let the beans out. We're buying we're buying a space station. No, but in all honesty, I would love to see a true observatory, but attached to the International Space Station. So you can have some. I mean, we're sending space telescopes out already. We have James Webb, we have Hubble, we have a few others, but those are all robotically controlled. To have something that you can, well, I mean, it's still going to be computer controlled. In all honesty, whenever I did my own observations, it was computer controlled. But there's something different about seeing the telescope next to you and moving a telescope yourself versus typing something in a computer and just knowing that in space something's happening. I think that would be really cool. My joke answer would be I want to build that exact sphere in space, but I want to have it be a planetarium so I can see the stars while I'm in space. I think that'd be fun. But no, in all honesty, a cupola-sized room would be incredible, just to be able to kind of see everything around you. We've seen the cupola already, and from the views that they have, it seems as if they're floating around and everything around them is space. But to have that full body immersion versus just a little sphere that you can pop your head into, I think that's going to be really cool. So we're on the same page.
There we go. We want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the chat. What would you want? What would be a must-have module on board any space station that you're going to, for you to consider? You're going to space, but what's your must-have module? And Ian decided to shrink. Oh no!
Oh, hi.
Let me adjust that. But while we work on that, give me 2 seconds here, and
yeah, I'll give you 2 seconds. Actually, I want to amend what I said. I think it would also be really cool. I don't know how this would be feasible. If we had a room that had water floating all around it, so it's like an in-space half pool. So you can kind of propel off different walls, and you can go through patches of water and just kind of have fun. I don't think that's feasible, but here while you fix me, there we go. I think that'd be really fun.
Isn't that a horror scene though in Passengers, when like they lose their gravity and she's stuck in the ball of water and like almost dies?
Yeah, well, that's if you suddenly lose gravity and you're going to have a giant chunk. But if you're in there and it's something that's been built for a while, the water is probably going to end up being something akin to a mist, maybe small little bubbles. I don't foresee this giant bubble in the middle. But if there was a giant bubble in the middle, I'd jump into it.
For a moment, and then be like, help, let me out.
Yeah, space scuba diving.
There we go. Space scuba diving coming 2023 to a space station near you. As we look forward to, the rest of this decade and into the future, we finally got some updates from NASA about the Artemis program and kind of all the pieces that they're working on for the station and for Artemis. So Artemis 1, it's funny because this image that they gave us is already out of date based on the info that they've given to media the day they gave everyone this calendar, for the fact of that they are not targeting Artemis 1 for February 2022, but at the earliest, the end of March, or early April, and fingers crossed that we will be there. But they're Artemis 1 is pretty much ready. They're doing some last equipment swaps, and then they will roll it out here in February for a wet dress rehearsal. But we're then going to see, it looks like, about 2 years until we see another SLS out on a pad with an Orion capsule, as they're not expecting to do Artemis 2 now until kind of the first half of 2024, and that's when they want to have an HLS option ready to do a uncrewed demo prior to that. so that in 2023, possibly there is a crewed meetup demo. We're not too sure how that's going to work. They haven't really finalized it, but seeing that they are seeing that Orion is on the map for Artemis 4 and 5, and you can see that the Lunar Gateway is on the map. That they want to have that Lunar Gateway pretty much fully built by Artemis 5 is, I think, really exciting to see. What on this was exciting you, surprising you? What were you thinking, Ian?
Um, to be honest, I haven't gotten a chance to really dig into it and think about it. I do think that the dates are maybe a little bit premature with what's probably going to happen. I would love for this stuff to be on time. I really love the Lunar Gateway stuff. So for me personally, anything related to Lunar Gateway is way more exciting than even sending people back to the moon. So as soon as that happens, I'll be here for it. And that's what was most exciting, just seeing that really be put on paper a little bit more. What about you, Zach?
There's a mix. I'm excited for the GERS integration. This we don't know, obviously, a year just yet. For the Lunar Gateway, that's basically the Canadarm3, from my understanding. A friend from high school is working on it, and excited to see what he and his team have come up with, because it's going to be a really advanced version of what we saw on the shuttle in the station. It's going to actually have two arms, one that'll change tools out on the primary arm, but also be able to do repairs. So I think it's going to be really neat to see that, because Lunar Gateway is not always going to be manned. So the arm is going to be controlled from the ground stations here on Earth, and need to be able to do the rendezvous with cargo missions and different things. But also seeing that, they want to be ready for on-surface ops with new lunar vehicles and stuff. I think it's interesting that this, I feel like, tells us that Artemis 1 through 4 are not going to be going far from the lunar lander. 3 and 4, which will actually land on the surface, will probably just stay right by the lander, but Artemis 5 is when we're going to start venturing out and actually doing some missions there. So we'll wait and see. There's a lot of ifs on what's working, but they've been at least pushing forward and are giving us some ideas of what's happening. We also found out that they're hoping to announce the Artemis 2 crew, which is expected to be 3 Americans and 1 Canadian, to be at the end of this year. So I'm just stoked to see finally someone other than an American going to the moon, even if it's for a flyby, starting to open up that chapter of really opening the moon for all. But you guys have had a chance to look at it on your screen. I know it's a lot of information. We'll drop it in the Discord after as well. But if what you can see, which mission are you guys excited for? Is there a part of it that you're seeing on your screen that gets you guys excited for Artemis 1 through 5?
Yeah, and during the same press conference, they did release a little bit more information. I don't think we have it spooled up because we didn't want to, but I did want to mention just one thing because it has to do with me. And Astrobotic has another date, so we'll see if it happens. But June 2022, that's when we're gonna fly to the moon. I'll keep you guys posted on
Do
that.
you honestly? I'm hopeful for you. But do you honestly think Vulcan's
Look,
going to be ready for June 2022?
Zach, let me have my moment. They have a date, Zach. I have a date. It's gonna happen.
I
It's
have
totally
lots
gonna
of
happen.
dates. I
They have
had
had lots
18
of
dates
dates.
for the Lunar Starship test flight.
They have had
Uh,
lots of dates. It's not going to happen in June 2022, but they say it's going to happen in June 2022. So we'll see. We'll see.
I'm
Um,
hopeful. I hope we see it this year. I would love to
yeah.
see at least one Vulcan flight occur. But Jeff, where's the engines?
If it doesn't happen this year, I'll honestly be pretty surprised. I don't think it'll happen in June. My honest opinion is maybe closer to July or September. Um, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. We also did learn four has a current net date of April 15th, 2022. So we'll see if maybe we can try and be at that one. We haven't really talked about it yet, but
We'll
Just
just say
hoping.
we are. Why not? That's how these things work, right?
We're
We'll be
gonna be at
there.
every launch, every launch.
Okay, now please at this time go to patreon.com/the launchpad and donate so we can be at
We
every
need your
launch.
support.
Few of the other things that they had in that update was talking about the new lunar vehicles. This one excites me. Are we going like sail moon buggy racing on the surface? Because that looks exciting. Um, but also the kind of interior hab vehicle that we've seen for 15, 20 years from NASA might actually happen now. Covered the announcement with one of the car companies. I want to say it was Toyota, partnered with a few people, and they're working on a lander vehicle as well. So lots of mobility vehicles in the works, but these are two that NASA seem to be interested in. The fact that they had 21 responses for feedback last September for companies interested possibly in doing vehicles like this, I think is a really good sign that a lot of industry is interested in getting back to the moon and equipping our future astronauts. So we'll see what happens. They also ran through updates on the human landing system, that we finally have some green dots, which is exciting. That SpaceX won, and then they won again, and then they won again, and then they won again, and that they're hoping that sometime in 2022 that there could be a orbital flight test of Starship, which is what we're expecting. My question is, are they expecting a HLS orbital flight test in 2022 based on this? It doesn't just say Starship, it's on a human landing system. So I don't think we're going to see an HLS model ready this year, but maybe early 2023. But nonetheless, hopefully we'll see a few different Starships up in the air and into at least almost full orbit by the end of this year.
Hopefully so. I think in a previous episode, this may have been episode 00 or 01, we had talked about that they pushed back an orbital test date because they wanted to hear or wanted to review more of the public comments to get a lot more than they anticipated. There's no set date for when that's going to happen. Take your guess, Zach. When do you think we're going to see an orbital test of Starship?
I kind of hope early April, because then it might line up with SLS that I can do a double hop and only cross the border once. But that's just the greedy, budget friendly version of me. I hope longer because I love seeing the testing happening at Starbase, but I hope that when they're ready, it succeeds. We're all expecting it to fail on reentry. We just are. But I hope if they could prove that they can get to orbit, that's a huge milestone win, going from 12.5 kilometers to orbit and then reentry failure on their first time. I think that would really encourage a lot of people that SpaceX isn't just wasting money. I know we were talking in the Discord the last couple nights that a lot of people are like, SpaceX is wasting just so much money. You know, we've got Boost SN16 just sitting around. Now we got Booster 5 sitting around. Booster 6 or 7's now in the high bay. They're buying all this metal and paying for all this labor, and we're kind of just sitting not seeing anything except them move Booster 4 around a bunch. So hopefully we see them start doing some testing. We do know they had some issues with the orbital tank farm, and they're having to use some other tanks before everything's approved. So we'll wait and see what happens. I'm going to adjust you because you're really small again.
Oh no.
But
So in other words, are you saying that you think it may be pushed back a little bit right now because of technical capability, or do you think it's more so that they are waiting for things like FAA approval?
I think it's a mix. I think the fact that we saw the Starbase balls and stuff testing occur, that was a really great sign that they are still moving forward. But obviously seeing some of the GSE testing of the tanks is to prove that those horizontal tanks that are there, not all of those are permanent. They're replacements until they get full approval or an ultimate decision of they have to go with horizontal tanks on the two tanks furthest to the right when you're looking at it from the road, which I believe are for the methane. So they're still going through some stuff and seeing what happens. We also have to keep in mind they're building a whole nother pad and tank farm here in the near future as well. So they're, I think, going to take their time, make sure this first one's done before they make the jump to do the second tower, and then start working at Kennedy as well. I think it's a mix. I think they're also, why rush when they know they still have, another month and a bit until the FAA is going to talk to them, another month or so after that to get a launch license and then get all their tanks filled. Because keep in mind, they've been testing. So all these trucks we're seeing, a lot of that fuel is already used. So it takes a lot of trucks to really fuel that. I think it's 158 or something to fuel the entire tank farm to be ready for a Starship. So that's going to be a couple weeks of nonstop tankers that we're going to be expecting to watch for. And if we start seeing those tankers begin and we stop seeing testing, I think that's a good sign that they're ready. Because it means they're filling the tank farm, they're not doing anything. So I think that's a sign to look for, is the tank farm being filled, but all testing having stopped. But when do you think it's going to occur?
So first of all, I want to say I think you hit everything right on the head. I completely agree. I'm a little bit more pessimistic, I guess. I'm saying net June. So maybe I'll be very disappointed with Astrobotic, but then very delighted whenever SpaceX sends a Starship. So we'll see. Either way, we're going to be there. And yeah. I guess I don't have more to say on that.
We'll see what happens with it. For those of you that have been tracking along with James Webb, we had an exciting milestone occur. All of the mirrors have been unstowed from their deployment launch positioning. They've been extended up to the 0.0 millimeter mark. They were all reduced 12 and a half. So they were all extended. I know some people were worried with A6 and A3 because they were the last ones to be done. But all have been deployed. The James Webb team says the mirror is in good shape and is responding. And they confirmed actually just a couple hours ago that Monday afternoon they will be doing the L2 insertion burn, which is super exciting. That James Webb will have completed its 29 days of deployment and be in its positioning. Obviously, it'll have burns to keep itself there for the future, but for those that have followed along on that tracker, thank you guys. That's been a huge thing, and we're excited about the community that's been around there. We of course will be live through L2 insertion, and we're going to keep it live as long as we can. As long as NASA's sending telemetry, we will keep that up. But we want to let you guys know, join us on Monday. We're going to have a big L2 party in the chat, maybe do some giveaways and some different stuff. But also keep in mind that that is also your last day to get some of the limited edition James Webb merch. And we'll show you the shop in a little bit. But if you head over to thelaunchpad.store or etsy.com/shop/thelaunchpadshop, takes you to the same place. You can pick up that limited edition commemorative launch gear and keep an eye out because there might be something for L2 day. But we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and once it does reach L2, remember that it's not done. Like Zach said, if they keep sending telemetry data, we'll of course have the stream up, but it's going to sit there, and then it's got to start very, very slowly spooling up its motors on each individual mirror and get it to focus up right to that secondary. So then hopefully we can see our first photo coming up in the next few months. We had talked about last episode of what we think that first photo is going to be. Please put down in the chat if you guys have any other ideas of what it could be. But I'm excited to see everything slowly start to actually come together. Do you think they're going to have any issues with the mirrors all aligning? So far, everything's gone really good. But I don't know if that's a sign that something's bound to go wrong or everything really is going to go off without a hitch. What do you think, Zach?
I think after 40 years, it better go off without a hitch.
Yeah,
$10 billion.
I mean, you're right. Yeah.
I think it's going well. I think having talked to a number of the team, there are a lot of teams. So like these mirrors just opening were a team to make sure that that works. Now that team works with other people to make sure that they can focus everything is right. So though it is a little bit of, a very small thing, we're talking moving 12 millimeters, almost nothing. That is quite substantial for the mirror. And now they'll start to all point in towards that secondary mirror, as you said. So I hope it goes well. I wish that team luck. As they also said, is worst case scenario, something does go wrong, it doesn't mean the mission's over. It'd be like Hubble, that there are options, there's contingencies. But I feel like they've done a lot of practice with this. They did all this on Earth, and if we can do it in gravity, hopefully we can do it in microgravity.
Let's hope so. Also, I want to take a quick second just to shout out. We have some new VIP spectators. Thank you guys for
Hey.
becoming a member to the channel, and that does open you up to some special perks, including a little Launchpad logo next to your name. So if anybody else is interested, come join us.
Yeah, you can hit the join button. Those little helmets you'll see are in different colors. The longer you're with us, the different color your helmet is. And we want to see who's the person to get to the golden helmet first. Now, it takes a while to get there, and we're not going to tell you how long, but you'll do that. And Richie has been a member for 3 months. Thank you so much. That's one of the really neat things, actually, that YouTube has rolled out for members, is you guys can send a highlighted message like that says how long you've been a member with a message actually for free. So it's basically like a free super chat. The longer you're a member, you get more of them. So it's kind of a neat option that they're doing. So we'll see what happens with that. Sir Rokill's asking, how cold do the sensors need to be? They need to be at 40 Kelvin, which was negative 220 something Celsius, I believe. Fahrenheit. It's cold.
It's cold. It's cold. That's what you need to know.
Yeah, really cold. Cold enough that if we ever get approached to it with another craft, the little burst of our thrusters from quite a distance away just freeze the whole thing over. So we have to be careful with that. So we'll see what happens. This week we also saw the first Russian spacewalk occur, or first spacewalk period, on the space station for 2022. And it actually took place at those new modules. So there's the Nyoka module there in the center with kind of the orange port. And then the white one is where they have now the 5 new docking ports, where they'll be docking Soyuzes, as well as the new Eagle craft that Russia is working on, and whatever else they want to dock to it in the future. And it's expected that the Nyoka module and the new module there will be the Prashal module, I believe it is, will be the 2 modules that Russia removes whenever they do start to build their own station, as they do have all the equipment they need to be a base section of the station. But it gives you a great scale of seeing that cosmonaut, on the outside of it. These are not massive structures. The Russian modules are small, but you can see, like, this guy's going to just have fit out of this module, so you can imagine how small it is actually on the inside. It was a long spacewalk, but we heard everything went well, and that they got to do what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I've heard everything's gone great. It's interesting to see, even though now we have a tentative deadline of when we're going to stop maintaining the ISS and burn it up, I guess. Is that our plan, actually? I don't want to misspeak. We're going to deorbit, so the whole thing is just going to burn up anything that's not detached on the Russian side and then turn it into its own, and anything not Axiom. Is that correct, Zach?
From what we know, yeah. We haven't heard any plans to save anything of the U.S. segment, and Europe and Japan haven't said anything about their segments. So still got some time now that it's extended to 2030. Wow, we're talking 30s now. So they got some time to figure out what they're doing. Given that if it was going to retire in 2028 to 2030, which was the old timeline, the deorbit process and the emptying of station would have begun in 2026. So if they're going to begin doing if the station's now good till 2030, that means we're seeing burn down, re-entry and all that starting then, and going into 2020 or 2031, 2032. So we've got probably about a decade until we see that major event, but we'll keep our ears peeled for any more information. Of course, bring those to you with Space News updates as they happen. Space News updates are going to return this week. I'm promising that, but we're glad to bring those stories when we hear more. One of the biggest stories that kind of everyone's been talking about was this volcano in Tonga that erupted. 10 megatons, they estimated it to be at. Quite a large one that actually sent shockwaves completely around the globe. North America could actually see, you could watch the pressure gauges of all the stations across North America and actually see the shockwave affect the pressure going across, which was interesting. But some clear views from some satellites as well as the space station of that blast as it occurred. From what I've still heard, only 3 have died, which is still sad, but is incredible for just the scale of this. But still some people missing, but a lot of damage to the island of Tonga and some of the neighboring ones. I just heard today that Australia and New Zealand's aid planes arrived today, and Japan is preparing its crafts for departure tomorrow. So they'll have some clean water filters and food and clothing starting to arrive now to give at least a little bit of quality of life to those people. But quite a large eruption, pretty rare to see an eruption like this. We hear about eruptions all the time, it seems, but something of this scale is quite astounding.
Yeah, and luckily we did have satellites kind of pointed at the area. Of course, we do now just for weather purposes and lots of other reasons. But we could see, and I don't know if this is what we have pulled up exactly, but there's a lot of GIFs and videos of the explosion from multiple satellites. And some of them show now the aftermath of what it looks like. That little volcanic island is basically gone. Have you seen that photo?
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. But the island of the volcano next to Tonga is absolutely just completely pretty much gone. It's very much like a Mount St. Helens type of eruption. Here is one.
Oh, yeah,
Twitter, yay. Let's adjust this so it's in frame. There we go. That is the before and the after of the eruption. So yeah, there's no volcano left. So it's still there somewhere, but it blew all of that there. The reason it was called an underwater volcano is because the mouth of the volcano was actually a bay of water, though it did look like it had a little bit of coast. It was still filled in. So now somewhere down here we have a true underwater volcano that is considered active because of this major eruption. And hopefully we don't see it come alive again. But normally we don't. Normally with volcanoes, after they have an eruption of this magnitude, you don't see them erupt for quite a while, if ever. So hopefully it's wrapped up. But absolutely crazy to see, a chunk of land just totally disappear off the face of the earth.
Yeah, I mean, to give you a sense of scale of that, and I hope what I'm saying is correct because I think I remember this. This is the largest eruption that we've seen in, I think, about 150 years, since like the 1800s. So when we say this was a massive eruption, granted, I'm not a seismologist or anything, but hopefully the fact that it was underwater made it a little bit better than it could have been. If this was near a lot of people, or if this didn't have that massive water to kind of absorb a lot of that kinetic energy of things exploding out, it was a powerful one. It could have done a lot more damage. And like you said, I'm grateful that any death is bad, but only 3 people being killed with an explosion this size, that's not as bad as it could have been.
Yeah. Taking a look at
there we go.
Actual shockwave here. This is what they're seeing of that shockwave going out from the volcano. And you can see the rings of it. It wasn't just one wave. A lot of people think that even with rockets, you get that one big blast of sound. But there are actual ripples in that sound, which would be the same here with that volcano and just how far, it stretched over to India and, just really around the world there. It was incredible to see, but also very sad to see. So we'll see what happens there.
And I do want to clarify, or rather correct myself. Richie, you pointed it out, and somebody else did too. I think I got things a little confused. It is the loudest event in over the past 100 years. So maybe not the most powerful, but the loudest.
Which is crazy to see. Like, I got another one here from the ISS that will pull up another station here. But just seeing that wave coming off, like, that is a big eruption. If an asteroid did something like that, it would do that similar ripple that you see. So incredible stuff that we're seeing, that these are real images. These are not animations. So it's cool that we do have that tech now, but helps us understand it a lot more. But was quite the eruption.
Yeah.
But with that, that's really the biggest stories that happened this week. And we're going to quickly go through the launches you guys can expect coming up over the next week that we'll be live for. But we want to put it out to you guys. What questions do you have? Comments about anything we've talked about? Send those in the chat now, and then we're going to start going through those after. If it is a question, if you can tag us at the launch pad, that will help us see the questions, but we'll try to catch up. I know we've missed a few, so if you did send a question earlier, if you can send it again, that'll help us out. But super quickly here, the launch is coming up this week. We have the Atlas V tomorrow with U.S. Space Force Mission 8 launching 2 satellites, so we hope you will join us for that. That stream is already published and ready to go, so when you end this one, if you go to our channel, you can hit set reminder and get notified just in case there's any differences. But that we will be going live for at 10:30 a.m. Pacific. 10:30? Yeah, 10:30. So 1:30 p.m. Eastern. 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Somewhere there. Click the link, you'll get the right time. On January 27th, we have another Falcon 9. This is a CSG-2 mission. CSG is an Earth observation program of the Italian Space Agency, which is going to replace the Cosmo SkyMed system. The second generation of the Cosmo SkyMed constellation has been reduced from 4 to just 2 spacecraft. These satellites are improved versions of the originals that will utilize a prima bust. They are going to help, they're an Italian project taking a look using aperture radar, and they're improved versions of an X-band SAR system, and this deal was signed in 2015 in September, so I'm sure they're very excited to see their craft get up there. The satellites will operate in the same circular sun-synchronous dawn-dusk orbit as the first-generation satellites at 619 kilometers in altitude and inclination of 97.86 degrees, and will be in the same plane. So they're going to both be in the same circle, but most likely on the opposite sides of the planet, so they always get a dawn and dusk image at kind of all the locations there. On 29th, we got Starlink 4-7. February 2nd, we've got, with a Falcon 9. February 2nd, we've got Falcon 9 with NROL 87. And on February 4th, we have an Electron. So it is spooling up to be a busy year of Falcons with 3 more already on the docket within the next 2 weeks. So make sure you stay tuned. Those ones we will all be live for, but of course, if any others pop up from Russia or China, or anyone else, we will of course bring those to you. We know we are waiting for an Astra launch, but they are currently still waiting for their FAA approval, so stay tuned for that. Any of those missions you excited for there, Ian?
All of them. That's the only answer. All of them are exciting because all of them can be watched right here on the launch pad. I try and dip in whenever I can. I am a little busy sometimes, but do feel free, guys, whenever you are watching the mission. Of course, you can ask us any questions and put your stuff in the chat, but then also Discord. If somebody can put the Discord link in the chat, that's a great way to keep up with everything that is going on. Ask some questions and talk to us live. We want to build this sort of community out, so it's not just watching the mission, but it's really interaction. That's what we're here for. So anything you want, send our way. In addition to being able to interact with us through the Discord and being able to watch our live streams, there are other things that we like to put out to the community to build ourselves up. Can you take a wild guess where I'm going with this, Zach?
I really wonder where, because I have it spooled up.
So, for those of you unaware, we do have the most fabulous line of merchandise. Everything you can want. We've got shirts, we've got jackets, we've got water bottles, we've got masks, we have stickers. You name it, we have it. We mentioned earlier that our L2 insertion party is going to be when we cut off a lot of that limited edition James Webb merch. So if you are at all interested in grabbing one of those sweet t-shirts, do find your way to the shop. We will have a link in the chat. Buy some merchandise. I think,
and I'm gonna call it out because I know a lot of YouTube channels don't do this. We cover all sizes from small to 5X. All of our designs we will always have in all sizes. And if we don't, that's a mistake, and send us a message and we'll fix it. Not all the time we can do all the colors, but we always try to make sure that there's something for everyone. Now, we know we've had requests for some ladies cut stuff and for kids and toddlers, so stay tuned. That's all going to come out. And keep in mind, the prices you're seeing on the screen are Canadian. So for our American friends, these are actually really good prices for you guys. My, newest favorites are some of our new Starbase stuff. You can get, the wonderful Starbase Balls t-shirt. Or, maybe you want to just get ready for that orbital flight test with a fully stacked Starship. So you can check those out. We do ship all over the world, so if you are not in North America, don't worry. We have distribution and actually manufacturing on pretty much every continent. So definitely take a look there. I hope someone will drop the link. Someone's already got it there. Richie, thank you so much. And check those out. And if you guys ever see a design that you want on something else, and I realized I spooled me up so they can see me, but they're not seeing me. They're just seeing Ian. Let us know. So if you want something you see on a shirt, on a mug or something, let us know. We want to be providing you guys with stuff that you are excited to have and excited to wear and use as conversation starters. I've been using, some of you probably caught it, was the transition. The lunar sample return bottle. We are working on a Martian sample return bottle as well, but really neat starting piece. And, rep the brand just a little bit. But you put this on your desk at school, especially if you work in the science industry, and you might get someone's attention going, wait, what? So definitely check that out.
That's the kind of reaction we like to go for. Richie, you did mention, I think, maybe one of the only things that we don't sell, underwear. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to create a line of underwear for those really strenuous, really nail-biting launches. What do you think, Zach?
Okay, we're doing a poll. Do you want space? We're just gonna say space underwear, like Blue Origin.
I don't know. I mean, by the time Starship attempts to do its orbital launch,
SpaceX. We're not providing refunds, etc. Yes or no? Let us know in the poll, because I have heard from a few of you that you want space underwear, but we want to hear from you guys. Would you buy a pair of space underwear, or maybe a bathing suit? Let us know in the poll there. Jessica, can we get the Launchpad logo with the spaceman helmet on some boy shorts? Let me write that down. And all right, I'll take a screenshot of that. And yeah, we can see what we can do. Just shorts, like on the side, like by the pocket, or what you thinking?
Let me start
I'm slightly
through.
concerned that 13 people have voted and it's already a majority want space underwear. But stay tuned. Maybe we'll do a Father's Day underwear collection or something. We'll see. I know I saw a few questions come in.
Yeah, I'm going back to the chat now. This isn't a question, but this is a good point Marcus had made earlier. The LEM shell on the lunar lander so thin that a screwdriver could puncture it. So kind of going back to what we were talking to earlier. I'm sure they were very on edge whenever they made any movements inside of that thing.
I was on edge moving anywhere near it on ground. You feel like it's going to damage it. They would, let alone when you're actually in orbit and you're floating. You sneeze wrong and you're going through the wall. I know I saw a question here from Peter. In what year do you see the first Starship missions flying from the Cape? Test missions before HLS launch? Two great questions there, Peter. I will take the test missions before HLS launch. Absolutely. We're going to see, I think, multiple tests of booster before they strap on a HLS one. Because we have to remember, those HLS ships, though SpaceX could build as many as they want, and that's part of the risk they're taking getting the NASA contract, they do get funds from NASA, which are limited. So I think SpaceX is going to test as many of the normal space starships ships, and then they'll work on an HLS version once they know that things work. Obviously, they're already working on it. They had that nose cone, and we'll see what happens over the next year in development. I think by the end of this year, we could see them working on one, if not having the first one completed. But I think we might also see them build one that is a total building test, and then we'll see ones for testing, because it's totally different. It's different windows. It's a massive elevator down the side. It's No flaps. It's no heat shield. It's very much almost like a SN8 cutting off its flaps and, changing a door. But also the HLS we see is going to be probably one of the first that we see with actual floors in it. Most of the stuff we're going to see before that's going to be cargo. So a good question there. What year do we think flying out of the Cape? I'm thinking 2024 at the earliest. I think they might want to try to be ready to launch from there when they do the Artemis 3 mission. Maybe Artemis 2 if it gets delayed a little bit. But we were talking about this actually also in the Discord last night, that Starbase, if they can have it upgraded to an operational facility rather than just a test facility, is actually a really great place for the refuelers. Because let's say you launched the HLS without people, because keep in mind it's going to launch without people. And I still have it here. This is going to launch without people. This is going to go into orbit. This is going to do probably 2 orbits, and it's going to be over Cape Canaveral, which then they could launch one if they have 2 towers, 2 tankers to refuel this. This goes around. 10 hours later, this is back over Starbase. They could launch 1 or 2 more tankers. Then this is fully refueled from what we currently know. So they need both, actually, I think, to have the rapid refueling that they want to have. And that's just for one ship. So keep in mind, when we're going Mars, we're sending fleets of these. Probably 2 to 3 to start, and then slowly getting more. Because Mars, we only have every 2 years that we can go. So I'm hoping 2024, and we're trying to figure out some ideas on how we can cover that development at Pad 39A and possibly Pad 49 being developed for the first time. So great question. Got a question here for you from Brown. When do you think the first Super Heavy? When is the first Super Heavy to launch this year?
I mean, we've had a lot of questions about when do you think certain things are going to launch this year. I think the kind of theme of those is it's kind of anybody's guess. I can stick with my regular go-to answer of June, but probably later. I don't know. I at this point, in all honesty, all of the different rockets are kind of melding together in my head in terms of dates. I just kind of go with whatever seems like it actually has something on the pad. What about you, Zach? When do you think it's slated to launch?
Yeah, I think it all depends how this FAA stuff goes. Because I think people need to keep in mind, the FAA could come back and say no. And say that whole tower has to come down. And there's nothing SpaceX... They probably could appeal, but there's nothing they could do about it. And, the FAA could come in and say, oh, this environmental review shows that you shine too big of a shadow on this little pod, you need to turn it 15 degrees. There's no turning that thing. That's coming down and then being rebuilt. So I think there's a lot there that we still have to see what happens. So I'm hesitant. I hope by summer we'll see the first one. I hope this year we see at least 2. That's kind of my thing. If we could see 2 orbital launches, like the almost orbital launch that everyone's calling orbital, and then a true orbital, it goes around a few times, then comes back. And I'm hoping on that second one it lands. But we will see what happens.
I don't know. I think I'm a little bit more optimistic. I think the first one could land, I'd still love to see it kind of break up on reentry, in all honesty. But if it does land, I just don't see it being a good landing. It could be sort of like what we saw with the first kind of landing of a booster, where it's good and then it blows up about a minute or 2 later. Let's see.
If you guys have questions, though, send those in. Tag us at the launch pad. We are going to work on ordering those. I'm looking at the shop stuff. Answering those. 25 votes, still sitting at 68%. That many of you want space-themed underwear. Okay, we will take that into consideration and see what happens there. We are not doing TLP bathwater. This is not Twitch or TikTok. First Last says FAA runs this show. SpaceX could be interfering with some frog species. You never know what's down there. I will admit, when I was down there, I did not see any frogs or snakes or anything else, but there's definitely an impact there, and we'll see what happens with it. Aiden says Astra is launching on Sunday. Not totally true. We are waiting for updates from them on when they are targeting their liftoff. They did have a targeted date for now. I'll see if there's any updates from them actually that I missed here today, because they were still waiting on their FAA launch license and doing a static fire. So I'm just double checking their Twitter if there was any announcements on when they will be launching. But yeah, so on January 17th, Chris Kemp, their founder and CEO, said preparations are underway for their first launch out of Cape Canaveral, with their first orbital payload delivery for NASA. Will announce a launch date and time once they receive their launch license and complete a static fire. And we haven't had anything more than that yet. So they are getting ready for that. But we'll wait and see what happens next, and hopefully see that they have a first successful launch out of Cape Canaveral. That one Space Kid says, what are the benefits of the Artemis 1 monster rocket to the moon? It is proving the SLS system. So, though it is a similar idea to shuttle, the bottom half just slightly extended, and then similar to the Saturn V on the top, it is a totally new launch vehicle. So before we put anybody actually on it, we want to make sure that it works. And so we're only going to test it once, and then we're going to put people on it because, safety. It's my one thing with the orange rocket. I think we should be flying more than one to put people, but I don't make the decisions. But yeah, that's what they're going to do. It does have quite a payload capacity, and this is only the first version. There's going to be a Block 1B, which actually is going to stay basically the size of the tank all the way up and around, and then won't have this. So it'll have a much larger payload capacity on the top of it, and that will be coming in the future, and then some other versions as well. So we will hopefully see that launch in the next couple of months. But great question. I'm seeing so many ideas of things that you guys want to...
Everyone wants the Launchpad whiskey, maple leaf decor, hockey pucks. I think there's a theme here.
You just want TLP everything is what I'm hearing. And, okay, we will work on it. Question, though, do you want TLP models or TLP whiskey first? We're not doing
Both.
A poll on that because I know which is coming first.
I think we do TLP whiskey, but the bottle is in the shape of a rocket.
Spoilers. See, this is why you stick around to the end of the show, folks. You never know what things we're going to leak out.
Oh, no. Everyone's saying models.
See, models? Yeah, models. Coming soon to a screen near you.
But you already have models. Look, Zac and I are here on your screen.
Absolutely. I saw someone mention Halloween, and then I totally missed it. Someone dressing up as something as Halloween.
Said that he was going to be you as Halloween, and then I responded to him and said me too. So
you have to do the split. Half Zac on
Halloween.
one side, half Ian on the other. That's what you got to do.
I'd love to see that.
I'm not sure I would.
That one Space Kid, we do not work for NASA. Although if anybody at NASA is watching,
hello,
hit me up. Hi, how you guys doing?
But yeah, with all seriousness, if you do work in the space industry, we're super excited to be launching our new interview series for this year called Behind the Console, which is we want to shine lights on the jobs that people don't normally see. So the people that are actually behind the console, the engineers, the person janitoring the bathroom at pad 39A. There are jobs that no one ever knows who these people are, but they are still mission critical roles. So if you work for any agency and are interested in doing an interview, you can get in contact with us through email or Twitter or Discord, anything like that. Obviously, we know we have to work within ITAR regulations and confidentiality. So anytime there's topics or questions, we can just say off the table and we won't bring them up or talk about them. But we're excited to have that happening Starting next couple months, we're negotiating with a few people on schedules, and going to kick it off with a bang with hopefully a really exciting interview here next month. So stay tuned for that. And go from there. But love having you guys here. That One Space Kid, glad that you love the channel a lot. That is what we love to hear, and glad that you have here. Marcus wants bobbleheads. I feel like we just have to have like a TLP QVC day. Like maybe next Black Friday, I just turn this into like a QVC shop, and we just walk around. Only $12.99, but if you call now, there we go. We'll make it happen.
YouTube is slowly building out their live stream shopping capability specifically for that. So
that's just weird, though. There's enough selling on YouTube as it is. I think it's weird, but then I'm going to be one of the first people to beta it.
Yeah, so you're going to do that, and there are people in South Korea. There's one girl, I don't remember her name, in a single live stream did over $1 billion in sales. So you think it's weird, but who knows?
$1 billion?
Yeah, with a B. It was actually stupid. It was so stupidly large. I want to see if I can pull this up now that we're talking about it.
$1 billion. I'm not sure I want us to have that much success. That's when you don't sleep for like a year because you're stuck manufacturing. Brown, what about a James Webb rear view mirror chart? That's a neat idea. Could definitely work on that. Kevin, bid on you want to buy my glasses? Oh my. I can tell you can get these. They are, I don't even know what brand they are. They're titanium. They were not cheap. The One Space Kid, when is the next launch to Mars, or what rocket is most likely to go to Mars? Most likely the next window that will open, well, we know the next window for Mars will open in 2022, which is, 2022? Yes, 2022. But I believe it's like December is when it opens. So hopefully we see a Starship occur then, but we'll wait and see what occurs. Lots of people want bobbleheads. Okay, we'll write that one down too, Ian. We got to work on bobbleheads. Someone wants an NFT. No. You guys make a space guitar for me, and I will come to learn. I'm working hard so I can afford both and play with it. Ooh, a space guitar would be cool. That's interesting. Ian has an echo. The Space Kid, I don't hear it, the echo. Yeah, I don't hear an echo either, but maybe there's a little bit one. But I think that's going to wrap it up basically for us. We're going to take a couple minutes, send in your last questions, but make sure you head on over, check out the Etsy shop. And if you aren't picking up anything, that is okay. Share it out, though. You never know who in your friends or family may be interested in that. And it's an easy thing to do. And share out this. If you ended up watching this on the replay and you made it all this way, I meant to say this at the beginning, comment replay in the comments. You don't even have to say anything else, but we want to know who's coming here after, and say replay made it to the end in your comment, as we love just to give you a shout out for making it that far and being here with us. It's not so much as an echo as it sounds like he's in a tunnel. You are now in a tunnel.
It might have been because my mic was a little far away. I don't know if that solves it, but we'll have it good for the next episode.
Yeah, always something to improve. One thing, then the other. But I think without any more questions, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Any last thoughts, Ian?
Actually, I do want to add one more small thing. I was looking into the South Korean girl. Apparently, so her business empire is worth $60 billion. She sold a rocket launch for $5.6 million. I have to dig more into the details.
Sold
of that,
a rocket launch?
This article,
like bought one, or she sold it?
It says Hwang, known professionally as Via, sold a rocket launch for around 40 million won, aka $5.6 million. So there's space news everywhere, guys. Everywhere you look, there's space news.
We're going to find out more, and we'll report on that next episode. And who knows, maybe we can find her and have her on. But we'll see what happens. Juan, was it? Juan, if you're watching, call us. But that's crazy. 60 billion. We could quit our jobs.
We could quit our jobs. All right. Well, yeah. So to everybody watching, thank you for being here. Zac, it was phenomenal getting to talk to you again about this week's wonderful space news. To everybody, one more quick merch plug. Remember, we do have limited supply on some of those James Webb Space Telescope shirts. Please snag one if you have any interest. They will back the limited edition ones. We do have regular James Webb shirts that will be there, but still grab that right now too, because you should grab everything at the shop that you are interested in. Join our Discord if you want to talk with us more one-on-one. You can ask questions there that we will look at and then later on bring up during the show. And it's also a great place to talk to everybody during all of our other live streams, of which this week we do have quite a few. So any last words on your end, Zac?
Yeah, definitely jump on the Discord. I'm going to jump in live comms. Shout out to Kevin, Marcus, Richie, and Corporal Day, who are hanging out in live comms there. We'll be jumping in there in a little bit here. But great to see. I know there was a few other people in there as well, so sorry I missed your names. But thank you guys for hanging out in there during the show. You guys can jump in live comms anytime we are live and hang out with the rest of the community and chat and react to when we have tech failures or say something different. But we're glad to have that awesome community. Definitely check out the shop there, as over 20 people have many of the items in their shop, and they are limited runs, so you can check those out. We will be back next Thursday, same time, same place, to give you your weekly review of everything space, the launches to look forward to in the upcoming weeks, and then take your guys' live comments and questions. We're going to pre-schedule next week's stream pretty much right away here, so if you guys have questions, and Ian shrunk again, if you guys have questions, you can send those in anytime in the week. You can do so two different ways. You can do so over on streamelements.com/the-launchpad/tip. You can send that in. It is a minimum $1 tip, but you can send in the max amount of characters, unlike YouTube where you have to pay the more words you put in, or you can send it in as a super chat as well, and that will make sure that we are actually able to save those questions and answer them. If you guys see a story or topic that you want us to talk about next week, you can do so over on the launchpadofficial.com. Click on the launch pod, and there's a form there that you can send in topic, stories, or news tips for free for a chance for us to talk about it next week. But I think that's going to do it for us today. But here at the Launch Pad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. This was episode 002 of the Launch Pod, and it was great having you all here. But for now, this is Zac and Ian signing off. Ian's normal again. We'll see you next time. Ian. Have a good night.